Hey, welcome to Pause on Purpose. We're going through these great attributes on spiritual maturity and how that really helps enhance unity. Because if we're maturing and we're growing, we're becoming less about ourselves and more about building up one another. We're becoming more Christ centered rather than me centered. And we're definitely looking out for everyone else around us in our circle of influence by either identifying areas that we can encourage someone who's hurting or build them up and provide the necessary tools that would help them get to the next level. In other words, kind of like Jonathan did. He went out of his way to help David go from the shepherd boy to being prepared to be the next king of Israel. Great thing about teachability. Today, we're talking about transformation. And there's no better example that I can think of in the New Testament than John Mark. Mark wrote the Gospel of John. He's probably a relative of Peter, but he's the travel companion of Barnabas and Paul on their first missionary journey. And partway through that missionary journey, Mark either got scared or just the road got too difficult and he packed his bags and went back home to Jerusalem. Now, on the point of their departure of their second missionary journey at the end of Acts 15, Barnabas and Paul agreed to go out on their second journey, but they had a major disagreement about bringing along John Mark. Barnabas wanted to bring him along, Paul did not. In fact, Paul said, basically, he just said, we can't afford to have someone desert us in the middle of the missionary journey again. We can't risk that. And so finally, what happened was Barnabas went his way and brought John Mark, and Paul went his way and took Silas with him. Now, what we find out though is towards the end of the Apostle Paul's life, he says this about John Mark. He says, um, Crescens has gone to Galatia, Titus to Dalmatia. Only Luke is with me now. Take along Mark and bring him with you, for he is useful to me for service, for ministry. Wow, what transformation happened between Acts chapter 15 and Second Timothy 4 in the life of John Mark? Doesn't your inquiring mind want to know, so to speak? My antennas go way up and I start asking questions. What happened? And that's our next attribute of maturity is transformation, seeing ourselves becoming more Christ-like and less me-centered, more Christ-centered, less me-centered. And evidently, something happened in Mark's life. And I believe it was the ministry of Barnabas that encouraged and helped John Mark become the man of God that he became so that he would become useful for ministry, even in the eyes of a man who once rejected him, Paul. Now, beloved, I don't know where you're at, but I do want you to know God is not done with you. Your transformation to Christ likeness, no matter what has happened, no matter what mistakes you've made, no matter what somebody has said about you, it could have been a spiritual leader like the Apostle Paul. Whatever it is, I want you to know God's not done with you. And he wants to transform you into his image. And he does it patiently, he does it encouragingly through people like Barnabas, who, by the way, his name means son of encouragement. Isn't that great? So, for those of you who have a Mark in your life that's been through some mistakes that they've made and they're suffering the consequences, become a Barnabas, become a son of encouragement, and come around that John Mark and help them go from me centered to Christ centered. Build them up. Help them identify how Christ heals those holes and their soul, and then give them the tools and release them the ministry. Be part of someone's transformation today. Be a son of encouragement like Barnabas and go with God because God is with us all the time.